A ProPublica report revealed that millions of American patients' medical records are accessible and unsecured online. The report found that images and data like X-rays and MRI scans are largely unprotected by basic security measures. ProPublica's senior reporter Jack Gillum co-authored this report. He's here now. And Jack, let's start with the scale of this. I mean, how many people affected? What kind of a breach are we talking about here?
So we're looking at more than 5 million in the United States.
Wow.
And millions more worldwide. And what makes this breach really particularly interesting and scary is that we hear about data breaches all the time, right? We see that our social security numbers get leaked. We see that our dates of birth, our phone numbers. What's different this time, I would say, are two things. First, your images of your actual X-rays of inside of your body are out there for anyone to download and view to their heart's content. And it also doesn't really take that much skill to do it. You can go to a web browser, type in an address, and you have a list of patients. And that's really sort of the alarming thing that we found is why wasn't this secure in the first place?
I guess one question people have to ask, too, is why would someone want these types of medical records? What would they do with them? Is there an intent to copy or use them for something? Do we have any sense of why these would be attractive to someone?
Hey, look, some people say, look, I don't have a problem if I have my MRIs online. There's a larger issue here of blackmail, of embarrassment. Maybe I have a very sensitive medical condition that I don't want my employer to look at. And once it's, the horse is out of the barn, that I have a particular problem that might affect my work, they're going to say, hey, you lied about it, or an insurer might see it and say, hey, that's a pre-existing condition if that's a thing that they decided not to cover. So we don't know what the problem is. It's secure for a reason. It's the law for a reason. And, in some of these cases, these providers fell short.
So let me ask you about the types of providers involved. Are we seeing a difference in terms of security between small providers and large providers, or is this just across the board?
So we were looking at hundreds of these servers. There were a lot more in the United States. We looked at essentially that the ones tied to big academic institutions, big hospitals, healthcare providers, didn't really seem to have these problems. But smaller medical imaging places like a mom and pop store, a place you go down the street to get an X-ray, offsite, these sort of off-site archiving systems where they take X-rays and store them in a warehouse. Maybe the smaller groups that don't have the largest of IT staffs, we tended to see that problem, but I think it really just speaks to, do these people have the right security? Are the people to ask, hey, is the door open? And are people coming inside and taking things right out?
You mentioned or touched on this a moment ago, but what sort of a legal obligation do these medical providers have to keep these records secure?
Well, that's exactly that. They're supposed to, you are entrusted the most sensitive information about your body, about your health records to these people. And HIPAA, the law that everyone talks about and that, hospitals really like to say we need to keep things secure, they are potentially violating these. The government said that, they're not going to comment on any potential investigation, but it may put people who keep these records in hot water if, they found to be exposed and floating around on the internet.
What if someone is watching this and thinking, I had an MRI, I had an X-ray, I might have gone to a small place. How can you find out if your data's been breached?
I think the first thing you do is you call your doctor's office and you say, do you have a username and password where if I need to access my medical records or somebody wants to, they can get it? You would hope that they would give you a straight answer. Medical providers can also reach out to us and we don't want to publish an entire list online for obvious reasons. I think just asking the first question, is my data secure, is probably a good first step for them to check.
I know you just mentioned that you have told them that they can reach out to you. You have been in contact with some medical providers. What's the response been from them so far?
Some of the medical providers we talked to actually said, hey, we didn't know about this problem, and thank you for alerting us. So it really just depends. But this is certainly an issue that I think going forward, how secure are these systems, and especially when your most sensitive information is being stored inside of them.
Yeah. Jack Gillum from ProPublica with a unique data breach. Thanks for joining us to talk about this today.
It's good to be here.
Appreciate it.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.